He's still bumping.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's Game Bites, episode 34, the internet's greatest and tastiest podcast. As always, I am joined by my co-host, Alex the Irish McConnell. And as always, you can catch us live, YouTube, Twitch, and Kick, and Twitter, and listen to us wherever podcasts are available. Anywhere and everywhere, even the bathroom of McDonald's. Alex, how are you doing, my friend?
The bathroom at McDonald's is looking great today. I was surprised that they lit a candle, so that's new. But the candle is scented like McDonald's French fries, so still a good day.
Just like McDonald's French fries, keep your face next to the microphone.
Okay.
Okay. What are you drinking there, friend?
Water with Mio in it.
I was going to say that looks like sewage water or beer, but it's sewage water with,
Yeah, in some countries that's the same thing. Yeah.
Dogs behind me sticking up like ninja. Well, Alex, we have an exciting week of gaming news to go through. I know you pretty much told me what it's going to be, and you're going to run the entire show. But before we do, it's time for another version of Is It Bangin'? And these are topics I just came up with, and you can see them. But I'm going to go for topic round number one. Is it bangin'? Do you prefer Chipotle or Cordoba?
Mad Mex. No, I mean Moe's.
You pick an option that's not there. Welcome to Moe's. You do love Moe's.
Moe's is so good.
What's the difference between them? Like in your mind, what's the difference between a Moe's, a Cordoba, and a Chipotle?
Chipotle, actually I have no idea. Moe's just friendly. I don't know. Every time I go there, you don't have to wait, and they give you a bunch of nachos, and they have all the sauce. They have like a little sauce bar on the side. And I've never been to Cordoba, and I don't know. Chipotle is just too mainstream. Can't do it.
Yeah, that's why you don't like mainstream animes like Dragon Ball Z.
No.
Okay. I'd say out of that option, Cordoba, but I would say Moe's. And if you're really talking what you said, what was the option you said before Moe's?
I accidentally said Mad Mex.
Which not a lot of people know about that, but Mad Mex is a local Tex-Mex restaurant to Pittsburgh that is fantastic.
I think it's owned by the same parent company as like Olive Garden and Bahama Breeze and Red Lobster. No, something else. It's with the chains of others. Like when you go, you can see the parent.
Local chains. So the company is called Big Burrito Group, which is funny since they're Mad Max.
That's so funny.
And they own a handful of local restaurants, which I will now call out. They're all in Pittsburgh. Casbah, which is Mediterranean. 11, which is like fancy French. Soba, which is, I don't know. Umi, which is a Japanese restaurant. Altavia, which is a new Italian restaurant they opened up. And Altavia Pizzeria as well. So it's a franchise group for local restaurants.
Wow, that's cool that they sponsored you this week.
They do not sponsor me, but I will gladly take a sponsorship. Their Thanksgiving burrito, I've never had it, but that's what I feel like most people love. Their Goblerito, which is just like stuffing, cranberry, turkey. It's all that. If you had that one?
When you order a burrito at Mad Mex, they use the sauce to draw their logo on top of your burrito. It's cool.
I forgot about that. All right, moving on to other things that cause diarrhea. Is it banging? Do you prefer a Frosty or a McFlurry?
Frosty. Because at least they're available most of the time. A McFlurry is pretty rare. I think the last person to ever have a McFlurry was in 1996. Since then, all the machines are broken.
It was the original actor to portray Grimace in a 94 commercial, and that's why he's permanently purple.
That's Gary Oldman. You barely recognize him.
Yeah, he got a facelift. I would agree with that, and I'd say Wendy's in general I'll prefer over McDonald's any day of the week. Any day. Now here's a question. Now, is it the McFlurry or a Dairy Queen Blizzard? What do you prefer?
Blizzard.
Blizzard? Yeah.
Same here. I hate McDonald's. I'm stuck in this bathroom against my will. Okay?
What the heck are you doing, Effie? Yeah, there's that guy with the gun, right? And last but not least, do you prefer the Tobey Maguire or Tom Holland Spider-Man series? I said Spider-Man like he's Jewish. Spider-Man.
I guess Tobey Maguire.
I want to flesh that out a bit. What's going on in your head there?
A little nostalgia. Doc Ock, Spider-Man 2 is like one of the best ones.
It is.
3 is a hard drop off, but at least all the memes came from it.
Yes, the emo Toby, yeah.
Yeah, I just think nostalgia.
Sam Raimi can either make a movie that's fantastic or he does something, in my opinion, where he has too much going on. And that was Spider-Man 3. And that was the newest Doctor Strange to me. Like the newest Doctor Strange to me had moments, but I felt like it wasn't like, was it going to be strong, dark horror film? Or was it going to be MCU comedy jokes and quips? And I felt like it was to me, it was that, but it was also trying to be both, which made the dark moments feel weird. Like Scarlet Witch was an evil figure. Like she blew someone's head up in that movie. And I feel like if
killed most of the magicians or wizards.
Yeah. So I feel like if they just leaned into that one, and who knows what pressure Sam had from like higher ups, like this needs to make people go, ha ha ha. Funny quip. And yeah, but I
got some is it banging scenarios for you.
Give me them.
Real fast. This is not Mario related. Peach or Daisy?
Peach. What do you mean? Yeah, she's the original.
They're both on the table. No, it's not Mario related. I'm just talking about a Peach and a Daisy. You have to pick one. Okay. Gobstoppers or nerds?
Nerds.
Our friendship is okay. And the last one is respecting your wife or let me beat this boss real quick.
Respecting my wife, but if it's Dark Souls,
yeah,
it's
like 9:45 at night. They say you got to come to bed. Do you respect your wife or do you just say let me beat this boss real quick?
So through the conversations that have bridged learnings and understandings, I've told my wife that like if I make a comment that says I can pause this, she knows to wait a second, because if I'm in the middle of something, some games have it, some games don't. So it's something that everyone knows. So that's like our safe word in those situations. If she comes up and has a comment, I'm like, I can't pause it, we're good. But if I can pause it, then I pause it and, respect the scenario. What about you, Alex? What do you do?
Let me beat this boss real quick.
All right.
Let me beat this boss. I'll be like, I've been trying this for 2 hours, so let me beat this boss real quick. I can't go to bed with a sound body and mind defeated.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know if Bran has ever said you need to come to bed.
No, just like bedtime, like, come on. Like, You've been going at it for hours. You've been going at it for 38 hours. Come to bed, please. That kind of thing.
Fair enough.
Okay, so this is just me. Okay, that's fine.
Yeah, no, but my wife doesn't typically ask me, like, come to bed with her. I typically go to bed.
Yeah, I've probably said that to you more than her. Yeah, I get it. Yeah.
Jeez, I got to bring up New York over again in that one time. All right. So let's get into the news. Alex, as you saw on the channel and as I texted you every morning, there's been a lot of Nintendo Switch 2 news since Saturday of this week. And I just wanted to run through it because today it kind of busted through. Like the dam was broken, the levee is broken, the city is underwater. The city is underwater.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but it's a good flood. I'll leave it at that. So just to kind of recap, Friday of last week. So Saturday of this past weekend, Friday of last week, there was a leak on Reddit from someone that most people would say is a credible leaker. I don't have a history of validating this person, but people who do listen to leaks and pay attention to the circle say, yeah, this guy is credible. And he came up with a bunch of stuff talking about how Sega's working on a Jet Set Radio movie, which is true. Some PlayStation news regarding Bloodborne Remaster. So I'm just going to put that out there. And also information regarding Nintendo Switch 2, basically saying that it's here. Dev kits are out there. It's very powerful. And he got to experience Final Fantasy VII Remake demo on it. And it was PlayStation 5 quality, which is kind of vague, right? Like, what does that mean? So that first broke and people were talking about it. Is it true? Is it credible? And to me, I thought, maybe. Like there's a lot that can be done today with systems on a chip that have DLSS technology. So I was like, PS5 in terms of raw power, no. But PS5 in terms of 4K resolution and potentially ray tracing and 30 frames per second, which is what new games are pretty much maxing out now anyways on these new consoles, possibly. So that happened, right? Then there was the fact that Nintendo came out and then said, hey, we're giving you all kinds of new bundles. They're doing a bundle for every SKU. OLED, there's a new OLED. The original Switch, they're doing a new bundle there. And then the Switch Lites, they're doing a new bundle there. So the conversation then went to, like, are they pushing big on inventory? And of course they are. It's the holiday season. They want to maximize value purchase opportunities for the holiday season, and they're 20 million shy of becoming the best-selling console of all time. So sure. But is it also potentially related to something else coming down the pipeline and they're moving a lot of inventory? Probably also true. I would think so, right? You don't go all out like that unless you're kind of really making a final big push. So I would imagine this is the last big holiday season for the Switch. And then last but not least, this morning, Eurogamer and Video Game Chronicles came out with confirmation that, hey, actually last month at Gamescom, Nintendo behind closed doors was demoing the Switch successor to developers and publishers. And the report basically says they were developing Breath of the Wild. It wasn't a remake. It's not a port of Breath of the Wild to the new system, but the original Breath of the Wild that is being run with higher resolution and higher frame rate and basically better graphics and fidelity because of the innate NVIDIA technology that is enhancing this game. Similar to how if I put an Xbox 360 game in my Series X, it will give it natural boosts in fidelity and add HDR and all that stuff. So they were showcasing that. And then on top of that, Video Game Chronicle called out from its own sources that it was also running the Unreal Engine 5 Matrix demo, which was originally created to showcase the PS5 and Series X power. So that's the big summary. So what we can confirm is, yes, the Switch 2 is out there. It's probably coming.
Switch.
The Super Switch, yes. It's probably coming soon. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. So I'm going to stop there, Alex. How does this make you feel inside?
Oh, inside? Warm and fuzzy. The main thing it would have to do is be backwards compatible.
Yes.
If it's not, then I don't know. I don't play my Switch much recently, so if anything, if I were to get this other thing, it would have to be backwards compatible.
True.
Yeah, but I mean, same with Microsoft and their Game Pass and their availability of games and constant, natural, what do you call that? Upscaling? It's not even upscaling, right? It's just naturally plays the game better.
So that's a good question to raise. So before I get to that, though, I do want to comment that leak on Saturday did confirm that it was backwards compatible as well. So they quoted it. It's not confirming it, but that's what the leak suggested. And I will say, if it is indeed using another NVIDIA Tegra chip, that would mean that the same architecture is in play, which makes backwards compatibility even more plausible. It's because that's what's in the Switch right now at Tegra 1, I believe. But it's a line of hardware that NVIDIA has been investing in. So that's one thing. To your point about the upres, so this is where this DLSS technology comes into play. It's probably not something you see a lot on your end from a console perspective, but on the PC space, NVIDIA has this technology called DLSS, which essentially uses AI to super sample something. So let's say I run Starfield. No, Starfield's not a good example because it doesn't have the NVIDIA tech because they partner with AMD. Let me take another question. Let's say I take Cyberpunk 2077, and I run it on Ultra mode. If I run it on Ultra mode without DLSS on, that means it's using all of its innate raw power to give me 1440p, because that's the size of my monitor, ultra fidelity graphics. And it's going to max out whatever frames it could get. But the frames are probably going to be chunky. It's probably going to be like 60 frames per second when my PC can normally play a game at like 120 or 165 frames per second, right? But with DLSS on, what it does is ultimately it plays the game at a lower quality of graphics ultimately. So you get higher frames, but then it uses AI to upres and offload a lot of the work that the raw power would do to basically give you that same experience as if you were playing it on ultra mode. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So it's offloading the power of processing that would normally go from the raw power perspective and using some machine learning technology to upres. So that's why Red Dead Redemption from 360 is 4K on the Series X, and also why they did a port for PlayStation 5, because it's a different architecture, it's a different tech platform. So that's in play potentially, and that's what Eurogamer has said, and that's what Video Game Chronicle has said. So if that's in play, that does mean that yes, it could play a Final Fantasy VII remake theoretically, and it could look just like Intergrade on the PS5. But from a raw power perspective, what you're actually getting is a AI Mm. Like AI induced version of it. So from close up, it's going to be really hard to tell the difference. There's going to be differences. It's not the same power as a PS5 in terms of raw power, but because of how the technology is going in this new direction and they're leveraging AI more, you're going to be able to do more with less ultimately. So that seems feasible to me. Plus, think about this, Alex. The PlayStation 5 came out 3 years ago, right? Series X came out 3 years ago. They designed and had that design locked in place easily a year and a half before it launched. So we're talking about hardware in that system that they looked at back in 2018 and was like, yeah, from a price perspective, we could launch these consoles with this quality. They could have gone higher up, but they wouldn't have been able to launch it at $500, right? Mm-hmm. So that's how many years ago, right? 5, maybe 4 years ago. That now this new chip that's more compact, smaller, cheaper. I think it makes sense that there could be a closer level of parity than we're imagining. Like originally it was talks about like a PS4 level power, but I think this makes a lot more sense with this AI tech in it. So that's the Switch 2 rumors. That's the Switch 2 news. Who knows what's going to happen, but I do think we're going to get this in spring of 2024 at the earliest.
When did the original Switch launch?
Spring of 17.
It was spring?
Yeah. Because there's really been no games post this year that they've announced. There's the Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon port, which is supposedly coming early next year. And there's a Princess Peach game, which, sorry to Princess Peach, I picked you over Daisy, but that's not going to be a game that really extends the life of the Switch,
Yeah. Or is it going to get Switches off the shelf? I think Mario was their biggest. That and Tears of the Kingdom were going to be the only things getting Switches off the shelf this year. Other than people just slowly catching up with like, hey, I've been wanting a Switch for a while now. And they're in a better place than they were during the pandemic.
They're in a better place, and now you can get 3 different versions that all have, the OLED Mario doesn't have a pack-in, but now you can get the Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, which is like the best-selling Nintendo game ever now. Or you can get Animal Crossing, also a best-selling game. So yeah, I do think Nintendo's going to have a big holiday. I don't know if they're going to get to 155 million units, but I think they're going to get pretty close to it. And yeah, to your point, Mario Wonder, they just had a Nintendo Live event last week. A lot of people got their hands on it, and people were basically saying it's the most impressive innovation of Mario game in a long time. So excited about that. And then the Super Mario RPG, a new WarioWare. Like there's some first party games that are gonna get some people excited. So we'll see what happens though. It's a quiet nod from Alex, for those listening and wondering if my co-host is
we'll see what happens. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
There wasn't really a question. It's just, it's all up to speculation.
It is, but I will say Eurogamer and Video Game Chronicle doesn't spend time speculating on Reddit boards. Like when they report something, it's as darn near close as getting an official message before the official message is out there,
Yeah.
So that's what really surprised me this morning and why I made that video, because I was like, well, dang, if Eurogamer's saying it, then it's true. And the fact that it was at Gamescom, like Gamescom is where all these publishers are at. Sega, Square, like all these publishers are there, which makes me think that leak regarding Final Fantasy VII Remake being demoed on the system too. Well, dang, maybe that is true, because you had Square likely at Gamescom along with all these other developers. Who knows what else they showed? Like it does indicate that Breath of the Wild wasn't the only demo there, but we don't know what the other demo is. So it's an interesting time.
If they were playing the remake, Final Fantasy VII Remake.
Mm-hmm.
If they're really running that, I wonder if it would be too late in the cycle for Rebirth to even be on the Switch 2 or Super Switch when it launches.
That's a good point.
Because that's also next spring, that'd be a good, I just don't know if is that Square would have had to be able to put it on the Switch that quick, or have they been working on it this whole time? If it was just recently demoed at Gamescom.
That's a good point. So, I mean, this is the big thing, right? I can't imagine Nintendo's going to have lightning in a bottle twice and capture the same level of success as the Switch did with a Switch successor, but I don't think they need to necessarily. But what is what's been like Reggie Fils-Aimé, former head of Nintendo of America, has said like what's most important for console success is the launch games, right? And so what if that is a not immediate day one game that comes out, but early first year window game that comes out, and they say, hey, Final Fantasy VII Remake is coming, and also Rebirth as well, right? I could see that happening.
A good new console, new system prowess,
right?
To show that off. Yeah.
Because Remake came to PCs, which means they had to make that game compatible with lower end PCs, and Rebirth is going to be the same after whatever exclusivity Sony has ends. Why not? I mean, I can. That's the bottom line Nintendo has to aim for. We have to be able to be in a place where third-party developers can port their games here. And it seems like at the very least, they're going to have that. So that's exciting.
Well, that was my point early on about, I said backwards compatibility and then some sort of better competition than the Game Pass on Microsoft and what Sony's trying to do with these free monthly games and access to like their catalog, you know? A lot of PlayStation games and PS2 games have either been remastered or remade or are just straight up available on the Sony PlayStation, but like Nintendo's online for those old games, it's like 20 each maybe. It's like a little sprinkling. I was just hoping that the next system would be capable of or offer a service that's just can handle more.
So I
know that lies in licensing hell, not really, Nintendo's efforts. So that's what's different, but
so
it should be nice.
Yes, right, but I do think so. I think another thing to talk about is digital libraries and digital infrastructure. Microsoft has specialized in infrastructure from a tech perspective for decades. So it made sense that them before PlayStation, they had the carryover so smoothly between 360 and Xbox One. The issue for them was the Xbox One was a horrible platform. Like it just did not succeed. PlayStation 4 did succeed over that one, and that's where most people started buying more digital games. But at this point in time, when I log on my Series X, I can download and play Xbox 360 games from the store because it's the same digital infrastructure, right? Now, going along with that, Sony's had that now with PS4 to PS5. Nintendo never was good at infrastructure. They used to make freaking playing cards, right? Then they got into video games, but they're a toy company. They're not a tech company by its inherent nature. They are now, right? And so that's something that's lacked, right? Like the Wii to the Wii U, the ID infrastructure changed. The 3DS, it wasn't the same to the Wii U. But with the Switch, I feel like they finally built that digital infrastructure. So that's why I think it's so critical for backwards compatibility to work, because they sold more software on the Switch than any other Nintendo console. They sold so much software, and a lot of it being digital, right? They're going to want that to play and come over. And I do think that's why we have this like Netflix model on the Switch right now too, because I do think we're going to have the same exact system on the next successor. Like I think they're just going to keep adding to that. There may be an increase in the service, but honestly, again, we're paying how much a year because we have the family plan. It's less than $10 a year we're all paying for all of that. So, I mean, this is speculation, but I do think that given their current situation, they finally do have that thing nailed down, which has been their weakest point. Their digital infrastructure, their digital platform, all of that. Now, will they have trophies
or some sort of achievement system? Should just call them accolades.
They are getting at that. Have you noticed the way you can use your silver coins to unlock like custom profile assets that you can make for your Switch? Like if you go to the online icon in the bottom left. Yeah.
Sony was tossing that idea around too, that your trophies accrued translates to like expendable coins. Yeah.
Microsoft does that too. So, but it's still not the same as like in-game trophies and achievements.
Yeah.
So it'll be exciting. I think again, So the other big thing too is there's this rumor about a new Nintendo Direct coming, right? We had the Mario Wonder Direct at the end of August, and there's a lot of people saying, yes, we're going to get a big Nintendo Direct in September. We always have a Direct in September. This is happening. So, I hear that. I see all this news about the Switch 2 at Gamescom. If it happens, what do you think, Alex? Do you think they're going to announce something about the Switch successor at the very least?
When is it?
Supposedly next week. Next Thursday is what I would put my money on.
Oh man, that's kind of tough because like now that it's like leaked, are they more pressure to control the narrative and drop some stuff? If they already had everything planned for next week, then no, they're not going to change it on such short notice, I don't think.
That's
because
a good
these
that's
things
a good
are
point.
dense. Well, I mean, sometimes they're dense. Sometimes they just show a game where you're just farming, for 15 minutes, and then there's like 6 games in a row that do the same thing. But like these are planned and laid out. So I don't know.
Yeah,
It would only be that this leak really spawned from this direct being planned, and it's which one caused the other, you know. So I personally don't think so, but if it is, then I think the leak came from its planning. Because everyone else was good on their NDA. Sorry for interrupting you a billion times. But everyone else kept good on their NDA from the Gamescom last month. So
it seems so, right? And maybe that's the case. Maybe the NDA, I don't know what the language is, right? But yeah, I think you have a good point. Like there's going to be an internal pressure from Nintendo to jump on top of the narrative because that's you want to do that, right? Because you want to have expectations set properly and you want expectations in your control if you're making the product. You don't want to be like a No Man's Sky, Sony. So yeah, I don't know if it's a natural coincidence of the fact that the Switch successor's out there more and more, and that simultaneously is ramping up alongside the fact that this is the last holiday season, and there's also always a direct in September. I don't know. I would say, and I could be wrong about this, but part of me thinks they don't want to interrupt too much of the holiday momentum for the Switch. If they come out and announce the Switch 2 is coming, then people are gonna be like, well, why do I buy a bundle then?
Why would I? Yeah.
Right.
That's what I think the danger zone is.
So maybe it's something you get closer to December. But I also think the time frame between announcement and launch, just like the original Switch, it's gonna be very quick. Like usually it's like a year, but with the Switch, it was like 5 months max, I want to say. So I think we're gonna have something similar. At the very least, I could see them saying at the end of this direct, one more thing, Nintendo is actively working on a successor to the Switch. Stay tuned over the next, so many months for more information. And then that,
Do you think it's gonna have? Do you think it's literally gonna be a Switch successor, like Switch 2 or Super Switch, or do you think it's gonna be a new console that doesn't actually do the core mechanic of switching?
I don't see
because like the Switch lights, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah. I think this is their focus. They've consolidated their console and their portable market, and I think they realize that this is a better play for them versus trying to compete with the raw power console market alone. So I do think it's going to remain in that hybrid space. Does it have all the same gimmicks, or does it give us more gimmicks? I could see it doing something different. It's rumored that there's a camera on it for some reason. Who knows why? But they've done AR stuff in the past with that. Maybe they do more AR stuff with it. Again, quite possible. Or it's maybe just used for face chat with friends. Who knows? Maybe streaming, right? Like, what if you can just stream from your Switch and have it point at your face? That would be, crazy. But that's the thing. If it has backwards compatibility, there's going to be a lot of game features that have to be supported that were exclusive to how the Switch worked, right? With the Joy-Cons and the the portable nature of it and the gyro aspects to it. So how much compatibility do we get on that level? Who knows? But I do think at the very least, like you asked, that it is gonna keep its hybrid nature. I would be very surprised if they got rid of that.
Yeah. Okay. Well, they did with the Switch Lite. They just wanted to make a smaller machine. They could have, but then they took off the Joy-Con aspect.
They did, and I think that was a risk they saw as worth taking because there's like we can target in a bigger market by just giving this to the the Switch Lite is for people who are only going to play certain games, or for people that want another Switch, or for their kids, right? I think that was. So I'll be clear. I won't be surprised if they do something like that again. Like if they have their base model and then another feature that's like the 3DS and the 2DS. Remember the 2DS came out. It was cheaper. It played all the 3DS games. It just didn't have the 3DS capabilities. Remember 3D capability.
Foldable.
Yeah.
Foldable. Yeah.
Yeah. So I see it more in line with that, right? Okay.
All right.
So there's been some other news this week, but it really hasn't been too crazy. One thing I want to talk about, Todd Howard and Phil Spencer, I think they were on CNN today. And it was a real funny interview because some guy at CNN basically asked him, like, hey, Todd, how come you guys didn't optimize Starfield for the PC? And he was like, oh, we did. You might just need a stronger PC. And
yeah, that was pure ignorance.
I thought it was hilarious. I thought because reality is like, I'm pushing that game. My PC runs it at its max level and it's perfect. But I know people with lower end PCs that are able to play it too. So like, it could be this guy's, hasn't updated his PC in a long time. It was a weird question. But Starfield's out, Alex, officially to everyone. Came out yesterday. Excuse me.
Big sneeze.
Big fake sneeze. It's all for show. So here's the thing. In its early access period, this means on Steam, on early access, so you would have had to pay $100 to get the game on Steam. It wasn't on Game Pass. With Game Pass, you could pay $30 to upgrade to the early access. But for Steam, you had to pay $100, right? 230,000 concurrent players in its first 2 hours on Steam in early access. That means 230,000 people spent a lot of money to play that game. Right away, that's a crazy metric, right? That's not considering everyone else, on Xbox too.
The bulk of the sales.
Yeah. But that's like $30 million in revenue right there. Easily. That number alone. But following the 5-day early access period, and again, this is from Video Game Chronicle, article from Tom Ivan, customers who pre-ordered Starfield's Premium Edition or Constellation Edition, Bethesda's new IP was released on September 6th for everyone, and it exceeded 1 million concurrent players across all platforms on that day, which is very high. So 260, 290,000 on Steam, it seems like, and then the rest coming on the Windows Xbox store and then the Xbox in general. So that's good metrics. Again, we're not going to talk about units sold like we do for Switch or PlayStation because it doesn't really work for Game Pass games, right? But at the very least, it seems to be more successful. I want to stop there and get your thoughts on this, Alex, because I feel like you've been paying more attention. And I want to share what you said to me earlier on our phone call, but it sounds like there may be a day where you wait for this game to get more and more, whatever they're going to do to it, and maybe come paternity leave, pick yourself up an Xbox to try and play this game. Is that accurate representation of you?
Yeah, so it's not the right time right now for me to get an Xbox and try to play this game, but I would gladly wait for 1 year for just general optimization, any additions they throw into it, And yes, I will have 6 weeks paternity leave next year. And I was just thinking, yeah, besides actually traveling and going hiking and stuff like that, sitting down and just becoming engrossed in the game, I think would be the best way to play it. I've threatened to lock myself in a hotel room on certain game drop weekends, but I still have yet to do that. But
wait a second, you can't just say that. Tell me more about this. I've never heard this before.
Like when, I don't know, especially like Tears of the Kingdom, like I definitely would have just, ever since, well, now that I'm dating, when I was single, it was super easy. Like Dark Souls 2 drops, never leave the apartment until I beat it, you know what I mean? Like in a single weekend. But like ever since I've been, well, not dating, but just like
married,
living with my girlfriend and then married at the same time, it's just kind of like you can't play it uninterrupted, like, no immersion breaking when you live with your spouse. And so like I've always just said like, hey, this game comes out this weekend. Don't expect anything from me. Like we're not gonna go out to dinner. We're not gonna be like, hey, I have a craving. I want to go get lunch. No, I'm gonna be glued to this game. Same with like, oh, do you want to watch the new episode of this show? Like, no, this game's coming out this weekend. I just want to blast through it because, yeah, I just want to do it. I just it's kind of like I'm a child because like when I'm getting pulled away from this stuff, I just like want to go back to it. I'm like frustrated. Like we're at the mall, and I'm like, it's game release weekend, and I'm sitting here at the mall. So yeah, I just like was thinking like one day if it really becomes a actually bothersome to me, I would just like go just go to a hotel for a night and just like stay up all night and play it with zero interruptions like I used to when I was single or in high school. But yeah, someone else in the Fruit said in the chat, this is one way to start living with your ex-fiance.
What he means there
yeah.
is your wife is technically your ex-fiance.
Oh, I thought he meant like this is a way to get my ex-wife. But no, I've never actually had to resort to that because she does understand how excited I get when I like, during a big game drop. But yeah, so that's how I felt with Starfield, next year, Series X and play Starfield in its entirety, while stuck at home. Well, not stuck at home. I'm getting paid to be at home, but yeah.
That's great that you get paternity leave. I wish I was able to get that. Anyways, Prude also said that this, just tell her it's for the podcast. You gotta, this is
free homework.
Once we start getting paid Boku bucks, this is work.
Yeah.
This is work.
Also said, what about cream pies?
So I've been playing Starfield for over 23 hours at this point. And
that's it.
That's
it.
It
was a 4-day weekend, 3-day weekend.
So
it's been a week.
That whole entire thing you just went through. We had a gender reveal party this Monday, this Labor Day. So keep that in mind. And I was also sick. So I played it and then I would go rest and like watch Cobra Kai and then play more. But I'm sure if I told my wife, hey, babe, I'm not going to help you at all set up with the gender reveal party because I have Starfield to play, that would have went over great, right?
No, you should have just scheduled it for. No, I'm not going to.
No, I'll share your thoughts with her tonight. We're going over to hang out with family anyway. Yeah. Alex said this. And like, well, Alex is going to die.
I just wouldn't have planned it for Starfield drop weekend. That's
yeah, that's a fun thing to say. I mean, again, if I had control over it, I would have said no. But the reality is that's the only weekend where we can get a lot of family from out of town to be in town. So
that's good. I appreciate you guys doing that because it's usually a bunch of family hanging out together is where I take advantage of going to parks. And the holiday weekend is like, so yeah, I appreciate you doing that.
Yeah, you're welcome. We made the park less busy for you.
Thank you.
Well, yeah, I've actually, let me look up my official metric rate here. I think I've put at least 23 hours into the game. I said this last week. I've historically bounced off of video games from Bethesda, but with this one, nope, I take it back. I have played for approximately 1 day, 2 hours and 17 minutes. 1 day, 2 hours, so 26 hours and 17 minutes.
Yeah, I would get that much done in the Friday night that it came out.
Yeah, you wouldn't sleep or eat or pee.
You'd have that. And you got to kind of enter a different dimension where time moves slower. Yeah,
I would agree that would be helpful. So it's great. I'm at a point now where I'm switching actively back between the Xbox version and my PC version. Playing the PC version on Ultra, it looks gorgeous. This is the most gorgeous game I've seen ever. And it makes me want to go try Cyberpunk on Ultra mode on my PC too. Xbox Series X version, I would say is comparable to like the medium graphics setting. There's low, medium, high, Ultra on PC. I'm paying on Ultra. But I'm not like, I don't feel like I'm getting anything less than when I switch back and forth. Like there's just the convenience of playing with my controller and the TV on the beautiful 4K screen where I'm just like, this is awesome. This is a great game. I told you a little bit more about like the stuff happening to me. Like I accidentally got arrested. Now I have to.
You accidentally became a pirate.
No, I am being forced by the government to infiltrate the mob / the pirates. And now I'm like, this is really tempting. Like they're throwing all this stuff at you that makes you go, I just made 20,000 credits killing a guy. Like maybe crime does pay. And And it's doing it. It's just designed and written really well. Where it almost is. I feel like it's almost simulating the actual human psychology that tempts people to pursue these dark paths, basically. So, it's good. It's good. I'm having a lot of fun. I think you're gonna love it. I told you this already too, but I think I'm gonna go back and play Skyrim and Fallout 4 as well. So that's next on my list. I didn't think I'd become an RPG guy like this, but
Doing a Bethesda deep dive.
deep dives in the Maryland. But the gunplay is fantastic. It's got fantastic gunplay. It's not like Bungie level gunplay or anything like that, but it's pretty good for an RPG. I've only played Mass Effect 1 and I hated that gunplay. So
that was the worst one, but remastered it's better. But yeah, the Legendary Edition. But yeah, Mass Effect 3 and Andromeda had excellent gunplay.
Yeah. So that's a good time. I think you're gonna like it. Yeah, and besides the Nintendo news, I'm trying to think what else is here. Hey Alex, how do you feel about E3 2024?
I'm assuming it doesn't exist.
It doesn't exist anymore. The company.
Yeah, they canceled that before 23 was supposed to not happen.
And even more bad news, the company that ESA partnered with for 2023, ReedPop, the people that put on PAX, but then they backed out because ReedPop didn't plan it in time. Imagine that. ReedPop has parted ways with E3 and ESA as the organizers. So 2024 E3 is now gone. It's not happening in person at the very least. There may be a digital event, but it's
why would anyone? Didn't it say they're going to try to return in 25?
They did. So
why would anyone want to showcase their game at E3 2025? I think it would be in their best interest to just, if they wanted to showcase their thing at a train wreck, they should just like time travel back to Ohio last year. That'd probably get more publicity.
That's relevant for last year. It's a very good point. Yeah, so I'm curious, right? These developers and publishers have now had about like 4 to 5 years at that point of data under their belt to say, hey, do our digital only us broadcast where it's a Sony State of Play or Nintendo Directs or whatever the publisher is, but we have our own thing. Do we see a correlation, a positive correlation between that marketing activity and revenue and sales and units, pre-orders, all of that? So consumer product goods, which a video game would fall under, right? There's statistical analytics teams that work for these companies, and I worked with one at GSK where we could look at these were super sophisticated like regression analysis with like I don't know how many variables, but they could basically plug in a dollar value and an estimate for eyeballs on it to say like here is the increase in exposure and revenue you could expect to see up to the R square of the statistical validity. So like, is it truly a good fit for the model? All of that to say like, yes, this is a good approach. This is a good approach. So they're going to have hard data like that to say like, are we better off cost wise and marketing wise? Maybe, like you're saying, right? Maybe we are better off to say we don't need it. My only conjecture is whenever you have one event where everyone's at and everyone wants to be at, that's also important. If Sony's not there, Nintendo's not there, it's not going to work. But if you have one event where everyone's at, that means everyone benefits. Nintendo benefits from Sony, Sony benefits from Nintendo, Xbox benefits from them, and then all the other publishers benefit from them too, because even if they're just like Biomutant is not a game I would have cared about, but because it was getting exposure at E3, I knew about Biomutant, right? But if whoever made Biomutant, it wasn't Ubisoft, whoever it was, if they just had their own random online announcement about that game and it was like an article on IGN, I'd probably been like, I don't care, right? But whenever it's like all the news from this event, like you start to pay more attention. And Jeff Keighley's Summerfest kind of gets that. But then the issue is like if you have Summerfest, then you have the Xbox thing, and if you notice, it was still all like the same week, right? They still try to keep it all within the same time capsule of events because I think it's the same idea. They're kind of benefiting from like almost like this holiday seasonal event, right? This is
Mhm.
E3 season. This is the tentpole event. This is when we get the most eyes on our stuff. So I the legacy man in me wants it to be back and be successful. The skeptic in me says we might see someone like Jeff Keighley actually take over as the leader in June 1st game events, which I'm sure he wants. So,
Mhm.
but I don't know if that makes any sense or if everyone out there's just saying Mark is high, which I'm not. I am drinking a Yingling Flight though. So,
Well, I think Summer Games Fest should just stick around.
I think so too. And Summer Game Fest wasn't around at the last E3s or so, but like
Yeah,
it's
but
it's not bigger.
yeah.
It's bigger. You know, it's
At
also
least
was
they know what they're doing.
Jeff Keighley, people give him a hard time, but I think he puts on a good show. I think people just like to give him a hard time because I think he knows what it takes to put on a good show. And
He got Nicolas Cage there. E3 never did that, so
they had E3 had Keanu Reeves though.
yeah. Well, I think so did Summer Games Fest.
They might have. They
Yeah.
might have. But that's a good point. Like Jeff Keighley gives off a very, I don't want to say corporate vibe, but he gives off a very polished and like organized and professional vibe, which I feel like a lot of games media is just like, I'm a gamer and I'm going to I got Red Bull on my shirt and a Cheeto stain, you know? That's probably horribly uh what's the word? Discriminatory.
Portray.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just went off like South Park's portrayal. I don't know. We'll find out. We'll find out. But we have to.
Biomutant,
Oh, go ahead.
Biomutant was developed by a company called Experiment 101. It's a Swedish developer, and they were published by THQ Nordic.
That's it. Embracer Group's company. Is that developer still around? Not THQ Nordic, but the Swedish company.
Experiment 101 should be. I mean, I think
Have they made anything else?
Biomutant did its thing. I don't think so.
So to that point, comment you made last week about we were talking about DC, and I was like, they should just cut their losses and release the game. You're like, that's what companies do, and then they release an apology letter.
The very next day. It's already they write it up before the game's finished.
So that doesn't always work out. So I mean, this was a month or so ago, but the developer that made the Gollum game is closed down now. They're not developing games anymore.
I don't think. Yeah, that's bad.
So
that's abysmal.
So sometimes it does hurt. It's also 30% off on Steam. It steals you much.
Oh my gosh.
Daedalic Entertainment, they're still around, but they're no longer making games. They're just going to be a publishing house. So they're just going to help other people make games. And they started that company to eventually make their own games, and their first one was abysmal. So
Oof.
yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting.
Yeah, they were gonna make a Harry Potter game called Dobby, and all you do is janitor stuff around the Malfoy household, and that's it. Oh wait, that's the exact same thing that just happened in Gollum. So yeah, I think that was their next plan.
Can't wait for it.
Yeah,
I'm gonna get so many socks.
maybe it was supposed to be a Dobby the elf doing chores game, and then they're like Lord of the Rings is more relevant or recent because you're Gollum doing chores.
I'm mad that it happened.
In the caves.
Speaking of caves, Charles Martinet came out on a video with Nintendo. It was a long video. I didn't watch it, but basically it was like a
the voice of Mario. Everyone.
Yes. If you're a gamer and you're listening to this and you didn't know that, I don't care if we lose your ears. You should turn it off.
What was that noise? We picked that up.
What?
I don't know. It was like a grunt or something. I thought it was something else.
I don't know what that was. Nintendo had a video with him and Shigeru Miyamoto, basically saying, "Hey, thank you for so much. We'll, farewell. Thank you for everything you did." And basically, he's going to be continuing to appear for Nintendo on behalf of Nintendo as the Mario brand ambassador at all kinds of public events and all that stuff too. So Charles isn't going anywhere. He's just no longer voicing the character, but he'll continue to travel across the world, sharing the joy of the Mario family, being able to continue to meet with all you wonderful fans who I cherish most. So yeah, I mean, we'll still see him. There's nothing that has come out though why he chose to stop, if it was Nintendo or him, you know. Um, but that's nice to see him. It's nice to see him. He looks old, so I mean, I could see
I
him.
was surprised by that. I
Yeah,
don't know what I expected, but yeah, I didn't expect that. It looks like Santa.
he looks like he was really, really hitting his high point in the '80s with that. And
Yeah,
I'm not trying to diss him, but like I think that's his age. Where like he was at his 30s, 40s in the '80s.
crazy that he peaked for like 40 years straight. That's a long peak.
That's what happens when you pretend you're Italian. It's
Yeah,
he might be Italian. I don't know. Maybe French, which is like Italian but smellier. Ah,
they
wow.
smoke more cigarettes. I don't know.
Italians
Better
smoke a lot.
desserts. Oh, French desserts or Italian desserts? Save that for next week.
This might start a fight. All right. Shots fired. Yeah, shots fired. Shots fired indeed. So, Alex, games coming out this month. We can talk a little bit more about what we're playing. I wanted to go through the list of notable games. Baldur's Gate 3 came out on PlayStation 5 today.
It's a Baldur Gate.
Baldur's Gate.
Yeah, it sounded funny. I just picture a gate, but it's even more Baldur. Or more Baldur. Yeah, haven't played it. Have no interest in it.
I'm in the same boat, but I hear it's amazing.
NBA, everyone's loving it.
NBA 2K24 comes out
It's the same
September
as
8th.
2K20. It's the same thing. It's just loot box game. I think it's just a loot box game. Ultimate Team.
Ultimate Team. There's a sequel to Ubisoft's game The Crew. One second. I'm gonna have to talk to my wife real quick. Babe, I'm on the podcast, but the pizza is ready for you at Pizza Pub.
I want pizza.
I was just gonna tell you to bring the cookies.
I can do that. Love you.
Thank you.
I want pizza.
Sorry about that interruption. I'll not edit that out of the live show, the podcast.
Everyone's expecting pizza.
Yeah, but the big games this month are Lies of P, September 19th, which is the Pinocchio Dark Souls game.
Mm-hmm.
Mortal Kombat 1, September 19th. It comes out a few days before that if you buy the $100 version. I'm not.
Oh my gosh.
But that game looks awesome. I played the beta. It was fantastic. Payday 3, which, have you played a Payday before?
No.
So it looks really good, and I've heard great things about Payday. It's co-op heist shooter. So like you could go rob a bank, and so many different things could ultimately happen based on how you execute the heist. I feel like it'd be a fun game to play with you.
Victor was also trying to say, he was trying to look for a multiplayer game. He was also mentioning that.
It's cross-platform.
Yeah.
It's also on Game Pass day one, as is Lies of P. So
Jeez, that's incredible. I can't deny that anymore.
There it is, folks. Alex in this episode has said maybe a year from now he's going to buy an Xbox, and has said Game Pass is incredible.
It is.
Yeah, I mean, PlayStation first-party games are incredible too. Every system has its value prop, right? Mortal Kombat 1, Payday 3, and Avatar: The Last Airbender game. I'm not even going to talk about that. The Cyberpunk Phantom Liberty DLC comes out September 26th.
That's a big month then. For this seems like actually a pretty big month for these games.
Have you played Cyberpunk yet?
No.
This might be the time for you to try that.
I'm still bitter about their wholly confident everyone give us money launch, knowing that there was that many problems. I really it's tough to make me get over that.
What if there's pizza?
Yeah, I can download it today if you need me to. Give you a review next week.
There you go. I've just heard at this point that the game is polished now, and the DLC they're hyping up, but who knows, right? That could also be misleading.
Yeah, we've had misleading marketing before.
Marketing kind of lives in that gray area of lie or